When you're going through pain, it can feel like you're all alone, like no one truly understands the weight you're carrying. But let me tell you something today, you're not unseen, and your pain is not unnoticed. There's a higher power that knows every tear you've shed, every sleepless night, and every burden you've borne. This is a reminder that your struggle is not in vain. You're being watched over, guided through every storm, and prepared for something greater. Your pain has purpose, and there is a plan for your healing and strength beyond what you can see right now. All right, listen up, life can get tough. You're out here doing everything you can, facing struggles that nobody else sees. You wake up each day, carry that weight on your shoulders, push through the pain, through the setbacks, and sometimes it feels like no one understands what you're going through. Like you're out here fighting battles all alone. But let me tell you something, you're not alone in this fight. There's a greater presence watching over you, seeing every step you take, every tear you cry, and every battle you face. You see, we often think nobody notices. We think that our pain is invisible, that we have to carry it all by ourselves, but that's not the truth. There is a deep awareness of every single thing you go through, every challenge you face, every heartache you endure. There is an understanding of your struggles that goes beyond what you can comprehend. You might feel unseen by the world, but you're never unseen by the one who matters most. Now, here's the thing. You might wonder, why am I going through this? Why do I have to face these struggles? Why is this pain so heavy? That's a natural reaction. When life hits you hard, when you're doing your best and it feels like everything is still going wrong, it's easy to question why you're being tested like this. But what you've got to understand is that your struggles aren't pointless. Your pain isn't wasted. There is a deeper purpose behind what you're going through, even when you can't see it. The struggles you face, the challenges that feel like they're breaking you, they're actually shaping you. Every time you face difficulty, you're being refined, you're being molded, you're being strengthened. But the key is to recognize that in every moment of that struggle, you're not abandoned, you're not forgotten. There's a higher awareness of every battle you're fighting, and that awareness is filled with compassion, understanding, and love. Think about this for a moment. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's hard to see beyond the rain, beyond the winds, beyond the chaos. All you feel is the struggle, the weight of it all pressing down on you. But from a higher vantage point, the whole picture is clear. There's a plan unfolding even in your pain, and it's a plan that leads to your growth, to your breakthrough, to something greater on the other side. That awareness, that understanding, sees not just the pain you're in, but the person you're becoming through it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why does it have to hurt? Why does it have to be so hard? That's the tough part, right? But growth doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't come from staying where you are. Real growth, real strength, comes from pushing through, from enduring, from trusting that there's more ahead, even when you can't see it. And let me tell you, you don't have to carry that load by yourself. You're seen, you're known. Your struggles are understood at a level deeper than you could ever imagine. Every time you face a challenge, every time the weight of life gets too heavy, I want you to remember that you're not forgotten. You're not lost in the crowd of this world. Your life matters. Your pain matters. And it's all part of a bigger picture that you may not understand right now. But that's okay. You don't have to understand it all to keep moving forward. You don't have to see the end to take the next step. What you need to do is trust that your struggles are not for nothing. This understanding of your struggles, it's not a distant awareness. No, it's intimate. It's personal. It's like someone walking alongside you, seeing every challenge you face, every tear that falls, and saying, I see you, I'm with you. That kind of awareness is powerful because it's not passive. It's active, it's engaged in your life, in your journey, and it's there to guide you, to support you, to help you navigate through the toughest parts of life. But here's the deal. You've got to be open to that guidance. You've got to allow yourself to trust that you're not carrying this burden alone. I know it's hard when the world feels like it's caving in, but in those moments, that's when you've got to dig deep and remember that you are being seen and understood. There's a power in knowing that your struggles aren't invisible. There's a comfort in knowing that you're not just a face in the crowd, lost in the noise. Your pain has been acknowledged, and there is a plan at work in your life, even if you can't see it yet. So what does that mean for you? It means that when life gets hard, and trust me, you don't give up. You don't throw in the towel. You keep pushing forward, knowing that every step you take, even the hard ones, are steps towards something greater. You take comfort in the fact that you're not alone in this fight. Your struggles aren't being ignored. You're not unseen. You're not unheard. And let me tell you this, the very struggles you're facing right now, the ones that feel like they're breaking you, those are the same struggles that will become your testimony. They will become the story you tell one day, the story of how you overcame, how you persevered, how you found strength you didn't even know you had. But to get there, you've got to keep walking. You've got to keep trusting. You've got to keep believing that your pain has a purpose and that you are seen in the midst of it all. Life is full of struggles, no doubt about it. But when you understand that your struggles are known, that they are seen by a higher power, it changes how you face them. It changes how you endure them. You stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? That shift in perspective will give you the strength to keep going, to keep pushing, and to keep believing that there's more for you on the other side of this pain. So as you walk through life, as you face your struggles, hold on to the truth that you are seen, that your pain is understood, and that your struggles are shaping you into the person you were meant to be. Trust that there is a plan for your life, a plan that includes the struggles but also the triumphs, a plan that leads to your growth, your strength, and ultimately your victory. Keep walking, keep believing, and know that you're never walking through this life alone. Your struggles are seen, your pain is known, and your story is still being written. You've got what it takes to keep moving forward. And there's something beautiful waiting for you on the other side of this journey. When life gets tough, when the storms roll in, and it feels like the weight of the world is pressing down on you, there's something powerful in knowing that you're not walking through that pain alone. Every one of us at some point has faced those moments where the hurt cuts deep, the disappointments pile up, and it feels like no one truly understands what we're going through. But I'm here to tell you today that there is someone who does. You're not alone in your suffering. Your pain is seen, felt, and deeply understood by a higher power that knows you better than you know yourself. Pain can be isolating, can't it? It can make you feel like you're walking a lonely road, battling things no one else can see. But the comfort that comes from knowing you're seen, knowing you're understood by something greater than you, is transformative. There's a presence that's with you, even when you feel at your lowest. It's not just standing on the sidelines watching, it's right there in the trenches with you, holding you up when you can't stand on your own. Now, let's get real for a second. Life isn't easy. Pain is part of the journey. We all know it. But sometimes that pain feels like it's too much to bear. Maybe it's the loss of a loved one. Maybe it's a door closing on an opportunity you thought was meant for you. Maybe it's something you can't even put into words, but you feel it in your heart every day, weighing you down. Whatever it is, that pain is real, and it's heavy. But there's a place where you can lay that burden down, where you can find rest for your soul. There's comfort in knowing that the one who created you, the one who formed you with purpose, is fully aware of what you're going through. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every moment where you felt like giving up, none of that has gone unnoticed. Your pain matters. You matter. And even though it might feel like the world doesn't see your struggles, there's a presence that does. A presence that cares deeply, that's invested in your healing, your restoration, and your future. We often think that we have to carry our pain by ourselves, that we need to be strong, hold it all together, and keep moving forward without letting anyone see our weakness. But let me tell you something, real strength isn't about pretending you're okay when you're not. Real strength comes from admitting when you need help, when you need comfort, when you need to lean on something greater than yourself. And that's where the power of divine presence comes in. You don't have to go through life's toughest moments on your own. You've got someone walking beside you, guiding you and holding you up. Now you might be thinking, but why does it hurt so much? If this presence knows my pain, why am I still going through it? That's a fair question. Pain is a mystery sometimes. But what I can tell you is this pain is never wasted. Every trial, every hardship, every tear, it all has a purpose. You may not see it now, but your struggles are shaping you into something stronger, something greater. They're preparing you for a future that's bigger than you can imagine. But here's the thing. To find comfort in this presence, to really lean into that peace, you've got to trust. Trust that even when you can't see the reason for your pain, there's a reason. Trust that you're not alone in it. Trust that there's a plan unfolding in your life. even in the midst of your suffering. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to know that you're held, that you're cared for, and that your pain is understood by the one who knows you better than anyone else ever could. There's something beautiful that happens when you let go of trying to handle it all by yourself. When you stop fighting to carry the burden on your own and you allow yourself to rest in the presence of something greater. That's where true peace comes from. Not from avoiding pain, not from pretending everything is fine, but from knowing that even in the darkest moments, you're not abandoned, you are loved, you are seen, and your pain is known. Life will always have its ups and downs. There will be moments of joy, moments of sorrow, times of celebration, and times of hardship. But through it all, there's a constant, a presence that doesn't waver, that doesn't leave you when the going gets tough. That's where your comfort lies. Not in the things of this world, not in temporary pleasures or fleeting distractions, but in the steady, unshakable presence of a power that's far greater than anything we can understand. And when you allow yourself to rest in that presence, to truly lean into it, something shifts. Your pain doesn't necessarily disappear, but it becomes bearable. Because you know you're not carrying it alone. You know that there's someone walking with you, guiding you, and bringing you through to the other side. And on that other side, you're going to look back and see how every challenge, every heartache was part of your growth, part of your story, part of the person you were always meant to become. So when life gets hard, when the pain feels like too much, don't close yourself off. Don't try to go it alone. Open your heart to the presence that's with you, the presence that knows your pain and cares about your healing. Let it in. Let it comfort you. Let it give you the strength to keep moving forward, even when you don't feel strong enough on your own. This journey isn't meant to be walked alone. You've got a companion who knows your every step, who understands your every tear, and who is ready to offer you peace beyond what this world can give. That's where you'll find your comfort. Not in avoiding the pain, not in running from it, but in walking through it with the assurance that you are never, ever alone. Pain is part of the process, yes, but so is healing. So is growth. So is finding the strength to keep moving forward day by day. And with the presence of something greater walking with you, you can face anything that comes your way. You can find peace in the storm, hope in the struggle, and comfort in knowing that you are deeply loved and fully seen. Keep going. You're not alone in this. You're being guided, cared for, and held every step of the way. That's the power of finding comfort in a presence that knows your pain. Life brings us many challenges, and sometimes it feels like those challenges can break us. We've all been there. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you're in a season of life where pain is constant, where every step feels heavy, and the weight of suffering makes it hard to see a way out. But even in those darkest moments, there's a path to healing that runs deeper than the pain. It's a path that doesn't rely on the circumstances around you, but on the power within you. It's about healing through faith, trusting that no matter what you're going through, there's a higher plan at work, one that is leading you through the valley and into the light. Now, let me be real with you. Suffering is hard. It can knock you down and make you question everything. Why is this happening to me? Why now? Why does it hurt so much? These are questions we all ask when life hits us with something we didn't see coming. But in those moments, in that place of suffering, you have a choice. You can either let the pain define you, or you can choose to trust in something greater than yourself. That's the power of faith. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not. Faith is about knowing deep down in your soul that even when things are tough, there's a bigger picture you might not be able to see just yet. It's about trusting that the pain you're going through has a purpose, that it's shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for something greater. It's about believing that no matter how deep the hurt, healing is possible. Healing through faith starts with trust. Trust is the foundation of faith. When you're in the middle of your suffering, trust can be the hardest thing to hold on to, but it's also the most powerful. Trusting in a plan bigger than your pain doesn't mean you won't feel the hurt. It doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt or fear, but it does mean that you don't have to carry that burden alone. It means that even when you feel weak, there's strength available to you that goes beyond your own. In those moments when the pain feels unbearable, faith gives you something to hold on to. It's like a lifeline. You might be struggling, you might feel like you're drowning in the sorrow, but faith pulls you up. It reminds you that you are not your pain. You are not your suffering. You are a child of something greater. And that greater power sees your hurt and is with you every step of the way. You see, healing isn't always immediate. It's not always about the pain disappearing overnight. Sometimes healing is a journey, one that requires patience, persistence, and a deep reliance on faith. It's about taking one step at a time, even when you don't know what the next step will bring. It's about waking up each day and choosing to believe that healing is happening, even if you can't feel it just yet. There will be days when the pain feels too heavy, when the weight of suffering feels like it's more than you can bear. But that's when faith steps in. Faith whispers in your ear, keep going. I'm with you. Healing is coming. It's in those moments of vulnerability, those moments when you admit you don't have the strength to do it on your own, that faith carries you. Now, I know what you're thinking. You might be saying, but how can I trust when everything feels like it's falling apart? How can I believe in healing when all I see is pain? And that's a fair question. Trusting in the midst of suffering isn't easy, but it's in those moments when trust is most powerful. It's easy to have faith when everything is going well, when life is smooth and there's no trouble in sight. But real faith, the kind that leads to healing, is forged in the fire. It's built in the moments of pain, when everything in you wants to give up, but you choose to hold on anyway. Healing through faith means recognizing that your pain does not define your future. Your suffering does not have the final word. Faith teaches you that even in the darkest moments, light is coming. Healing is coming. And sometimes that healing looks different than we expect. Sometimes it's not about the circumstances changing right away, but about your heart changing, about finding peace in the middle of the storm. Faith transforms your suffering. It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it changes how you walk through it. It gives you a new perspective. Instead of focusing on the hurt, you start to focus on the hope. Instead of being weighed down by the suffering, you start to rise up in the strength that comes from trusting something bigger than yourself. That's the power of healing through faith. And as you trust, as you lean into that faith, something incredible happens. You start to see the pain differently. You start to see that the suffering isn't the end of your story. It's a chapter, yes, but it's not the whole book. You start to understand that the pain is shaping you, refining you, and making you stronger than you ever thought possible. Faith opens your eyes to the bigger picture, to the fact that even though you're in the middle of the struggle right now, there's a greater plan unfolding. And that plan includes your healing. So when you're in the middle of your suffering, when the pain feels overwhelming, don't lose heart. Trust that there's a purpose in the pain, that healing is on the way, even if you can't see it just yet. Have faith that you are being held by something greater than yourself, that you are not alone in this journey, and that your suffering is not in vain. Healing is possible. Healing is happening. But it starts with trust. It starts with faith. Every time you choose to trust, even when it's hard, you take a step toward healing. Every time you lean into faith, you are reminded that your pain does not have the final say. And that's where true healing begins. It begins in the heart, in the soul, in the decision to trust even when it doesn't make sense. It begins with faith. And that faith will carry you through the suffering and into a place of peace, strength, and healing. So hold on. Keep the faith. Healing is not just possible, it's inevitable when you trust in something greater. Your pain is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of something new, something beautiful, something healed. Keep walking, keep trusting, and know that healing is already on its way. You're stronger than you think, and with faith you can overcome anything. Life will bring you moments where the pain feels unbearable, where trials seem to mount one after the other, and it feels like you're walking through the fire with no end in sight. But what if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now isn't wasted? What if I said there's a deeper purpose in the trials you're facing, one that is shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater? This is where understanding God's plan through your pain becomes vital. Because what might look like defeat in this moment can and will turn into triumph if you trust the process. When you're in the middle of your suffering, it's hard to see the bigger picture. It's hard to understand why these trials are happening. You may be asking, why me? Why now? Why this? Those are real questions that we all face when the weight of life feels like it's pressing us down. But in those questions, in that struggle, is the seed of something powerful. It's the seed of transformation. The beginning of a shift that can take your trials and turn them into triumphs. It's about believing that there's a purpose, a plan, even when the pain feels like too much to bear. Now, let me tell you something, growth doesn't happen in comfort. You don't become stronger when everything in life is smooth and easy. No, real strength, real resilience is born in the struggle. It's born in those moments when you're faced with obstacles and challenges that seem insurmountable. It's in those trials that you are being tested, molded, and prepared for something bigger than what you can see right now. But here's the key: you have to trust the process. You have to trust that the pain you're experiencing is not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where triumph is on the horizon. Think about the toughest moments in your life. Think about the times when you thought you couldn't go on, when the pain felt overwhelming, and the weight of it all seemed like too much to carry. But you're still here. You made it through those moments, and now, looking back, you can see how those trials shaped you. You're stronger because of them. You're wiser because of them. You've learned things about yourself that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't gone through the fire. That's how God's plan works. It takes the pain, the trials, and the suffering and uses them to build you into the person you were meant to be. But while you're in the middle of the trial, it's hard to see that. It's hard to understand why you're going through this. That's why faith is so important. You see, faith is what carries you through when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. Faith is what allows you to believe that there's a purpose in your pain, that even though you can't see the outcome right now, you trust that it's leading you towards something greater. Faith is what turns trials into triumphs, because it shifts your perspective. Instead of seeing the trial as something that's meant to break you, you begin to see it as something that's meant to build you. And let me tell you, there's no triumph without a trial. Every great victory in life is born out of struggle. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary has faced moments of doubt, moments of pain, moments where they wanted to give up. But they didn't. They trusted the process, they persevered through the pain, and they came out on the other side stronger, more resilient, and ready for the victory that was waiting for them. That same victory is waiting for you. But you've got to push through. You've got to keep going, even when it feels like you can't. Pain has a way of teaching us things that comfort never could. It strips away the unnecessary, it refines our character, and it forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we might otherwise avoid. Pain brings clarity. It shows us what truly matters and what doesn't. It reveals our strengths, our weaknesses, and the areas in our lives where we need to grow. That's why when you're going through a trial, you need to look for the lesson in it. What is this pain trying to teach you? What is it revealing about yourself, about your life, about your purpose? Because here's the thing: God doesn't waste anything. Not your pain, not your suffering, not your trials. Every single thing you go through is being used for a purpose. It's being woven into the fabric of your life, creating a story that's bigger and more beautiful than you can imagine. But you've got to trust that. You've got to believe that even in your darkest moments, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You've got to hold on to the fact that the trial you're facing right now is not the end of the road. It's just a part of the journey. And when you come through on the other side, you'll be able to look back and see how every single challenge, every moment of pain, was preparing you for the triumph that was waiting for you. You'll see how the struggle made you stronger, how it refined your character, how it deepened your faith. You'll see that the pain you went through wasn't pointless. It was purposeful. It was a part of the plan to bring you into a place of victory. But here's the thing: you've got to keep going. You've got to trust the process, even when it doesn't make sense. You've got to believe that the trials you're facing are not meant to break you, but to build you. You've got to hold on to the truth that there's a purpose in your pain, that it's leading you towards something greater than you can see right now. And if you can do that, if you can hold on to that faith, then you'll see your trials turn into triumphs. You are stronger than you know. The pain you're going through right now is not the end of your story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter, one where you emerge victorious, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Trust that. Trust that your trials are not in vain. Trust that there's a bigger plan at work, and that plan is leading you to a place of triumph. So no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard the trial, keep going, keep trusting. Keep believing that there's a purpose in your pain, and that purpose is leading you to victory. The trial you're in today will be the triumph you celebrate tomorrow. You just have to hold on, keep the faith, And know that your pain is not the end of the story, it's just the beginning. Life has a way of breaking us down at times, doesn't it? We've all faced those moments when it feels like everything is crumbling, when the weight of the world presses so heavily on our shoulders that it's hard to even stand up straight. The heartache, the disappointment, the setbacks, they can leave us feeling lost, confused, and questioning our purpose. But here's the truth: your brokenness is not the end of your story. It's a part of it, yes, but it's not where you stop. In fact, it's in these moments of brokenness that God is preparing you for something greater. He is taking those shattered pieces of your life, those hard times, and shaping them into something strong, something purposeful. You see, we all go through seasons of pain, seasons where it feels like we've been knocked down over and over again. But you know what? There's a strength that can come out of that brokenness. When we surrender to God's guidance in those hard times, when we trust that He's working, even when we don't understand how or why, that's when transformation begins. That's when the brokenness becomes the foundation for something more powerful than you ever imagined. You might be asking, why do we have to go through these tough times? Why can't life just be smooth and easy? Well, let me tell you something: diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. And your strength, your resilience, your purpose, they are forged in the furnace of adversity. God allows these challenges in our lives not to break us, but to mold us, to build us up into the people He knows we can be. The truth is, without those trials, without those moments of brokenness, we wouldn't develop the depth of character, the perseverance, or the faith that is necessary for the purpose He has planned for us. Now, I know when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to see that. When the walls are closing in, when the pain is so deep you can't breathe, the last thing you want to hear is that there's a purpose in it. But that's where faith comes in. Faith is believing that even in your brokenness, God is at work. He's guiding you, leading you, even when the path ahead looks dark and unclear. Faith is trusting that this season of struggle is not the end of the road, but the beginning of a new journey, one where you will come out stronger, wiser, and more aligned with His purpose for your life. Think about those moments in your past when you thought you wouldn't make it through. The times when you were so broken, you didn't know how you would ever piece yourself back together. But you did. You're here right now, stronger because of it. You learned things in that season of brokenness that you couldn't have learned any other way. You discovered strengths you didn't know you had. You found a deeper connection with God, because in that brokenness, you leaned on Him in ways you never had before. That's the beauty of hard times. They strip away everything that doesn't matter and force us to focus on what does. They bring us face to face with our vulnerabilities, our fears, our doubts. And in that space, in that rawness, God meets us. He doesn't just leave us in our brokenness. No, He takes that pain, that hurt, and He uses it to build something new. He uses it to strengthen us, to deepen our faith, and to bring us closer to Him. But we've got to embrace His guidance. We've got to be willing to trust Him, even when the road ahead seems impossible. That's not always easy. It's not easy to let go of our need to control, to fix, to understand. But here's the thing: when we try to handle it all on our own, when we refuse to surrender our brokenness to God, we miss out on the opportunity for transformation. We miss out on the chance to see how He can take the worst of what we're going through and turn it into something beautiful, something meaningful. When we embrace God's guidance in hard times, we begin to see our circumstances differently. We stop focusing on the pain, on the struggle, and we start looking for the lessons, the growth, the ways in which God is using this season to shape us. We start to understand that brokenness isn't a curse, but a process. A process of refinement, of rebuilding, of becoming the person we were always meant to be. And let me tell you, there's power in that. There's power in surrendering to God's plan and trusting that He knows what He's doing, even when it doesn't make sense to us. There's power in believing that the brokenness you're experiencing is not a punishment, but a preparation for something greater. You see, God doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste your tears, your struggles, or your pain. He uses every single piece of it to shape you into the person He's called you to be. So if you're in a season of brokenness right now, if life feels like it's too much to bear, I want to encourage you to lean into God's guidance. Don't try to run from the pain or numb it with distractions. Instead, take it to Him. Allow Him to show you the strength that's hidden in your brokenness. Allow Him to guide you through this season, trusting that on the other side, There's a version of you that's stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with his purpose than ever before. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to understand why things are happening the way they are. All you have to do is trust. Trust that God is with you, that he sees your pain, and that he's guiding you through it. Trust that your brokenness is not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where strength, purpose, and peace take the place of the pain you're feeling right now. Because here's the thing, God's plan for your life is bigger than your pain. It's bigger than your struggles, your setbacks, and your failures. He's using every single moment to build you, to shape you, and to prepare you for what's next. And if you can hold on to that, if you can embrace his guidance through these hard times, you will come out on the other side stronger than you ever thought possible. This season of brokenness is not your end. It's your transformation. It's your opportunity to let God take the shattered pieces of your life and create something new, something beautiful, something powerful. So embrace the process. Trust his guidance. And watch how he turns your brokenness into strength, your pain into purpose, and your trials into triumphs. As you walk through the storms of life, remember this: your brokenness is not your end. It's the beginning of your transformation. God sees every tear, every struggle, and he's guiding you, even when the road ahead is unclear. Embrace his plan, trust his process, and you'll discover strength and purpose beyond what you ever imagined. Don't let the pain define you, let it refine you. You are stronger, wiser, and more resilient because of it. Hold on to that truth and watch how your trials turn into triumphs. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Stay blessed.